Dee on Twitter says, first time ever watching PCA Live. It's a nail-biting, awesome time. It's been a very fun final table to watch so far. Yesterday's final table was awesome as well. I have to be honest with you, Ike, I thought the dynamic at the Super High Roller final was a little bit weird.
How so?
Well, we had those quick eliminations, you know, what was it, 3 players out in the first 5 hands?
Right, yeah.
Then super slow. And I guess we were expecting, with all those chips, that Doc Sands would play it very similar to how Bonomo played the final in Monaco. That super aggressive and just run over the table, but he kind of just sat back and let the others try and do the work for him.
Yeah, I'm sure to some extent that was a function of exactly the cards he was dealt. You know,
I think so, yeah. He didn't really pick up a ton of big hands, that's for sure.
Maybe you go in with the plan that I'm going to be super aggressive, but I'm going to be super aggressive means in all these spots where I'd normally be 30%, I'm going to be 40%, and you show up with a bunch of bottom 50% hands, you still never play a pot. But also, I do think Doc is...
Scott's answer was, that's just Doc.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some truth to that, too. He's a solid player. Just that's his approach to the game. You don't see him way out of line very often, regardless of the circumstances.
Well, picking up the action here, hand 32 of the final table. Vanessa's button open has been 3-bet by Vladimir Troinovsky in the big blind. We haven't seen Vlad's whole cards yet. We know Vanessa has ace-4.
We raised 285,000.
And she 4-bets.
Re-raise makes a total of 200.
Troinovsky, from what we've seen so far, does have a tendency to 3-bet light. That's not to say he doesn't have the goods this time.
He seems pretty bored by his hand.
Vanessa's made it, you know, almost a quarter of effective stacks here, so I think the next raise is going to be all in if there's one more. And Troinovsky doesn't have to get a whole lot of folds to make it a good shove with anything reasonable.
Does he get a fold, though?
From ace-4, absolutely. I think Vanessa folds this right away if Troinovsky jams.
Well, he's counting, which would indicate he's not jamming. Maybe just wants to see how many total chips he has.
How much there would be left to play if he calls, maybe. Because it is a very small 4-bet. She less than doubled it, right?
Yeah, his 3-bet was 140. Hers barely doubled it.
Barely doubled it. And he has stuck in a re-raise, it looks like.
490,000.
Oh, wow. Well,
Re-raise.
Just shy of
that
half
might
a
as
million.
well be all in. I can't imagine he ever 5-bets and then folds
It's
for
not
that
supposed
sizing.
to be, at least.
Yeah. So I don't think Vanessa really has much to think about here. This should be going straight in the muck unless she has a ridiculous physical read on him or something.
Yeah, but Ike, look at all those chips she has.
She could pile it in, lose, and still have a lot, that's for sure.
Pile it in, that's one I gotta write down. That's one I'm stealing. Pile it in. Thank you.
Plagiarism saves time. Vanessa folds. Troinovsky wins that pot.
I want to see what he had here.
Ace-7 suited.
Wow.
He had her crushed.
Let's see.
I think that kind of was an insta-fold for Vanessa, considering how much she hates folding.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine she was very seriously considering doing anything else. You know, with this much on the line, you want to triple check and make sure you have the stack sizes right and you counted out his bet right and you're not making any simple mistakes like that. But once you've got it narrowed down exactly what's happened in the hand, exactly how much there is left to play, it doesn't seem like there's any decision there.
Don't forget you can watch us on the go. Download the latest version of the PokerStars TV app for your iOS or Android device. We have a tweet from Eric. He says that Ike is the best addition to PokerStars since the creation of PokerStars.
Wow.
Ike,
Thank you, Eric.
Can you please talk about Isildur's insane upswing in the first 2 weeks of 2013?
I mean, it's incredible. It's been really exciting to watch. He's playing the best players at every game at the highest stakes and beating them. It doesn't seem to me like he's a world-class triple draw or 08 player, but he's getting in there and trying, and I don't know, maybe he will be pretty soon.
Do you think it's just a matter of, you know, his luck running out eventually? Is he just running way above expectation right now, or is he just exhibiting characteristics of someone that could very well be one of the better players?
You know,
best players.
The first time I played him, he was already an excellent heads-up no-limit player back in, I guess this would have been 2010 or so. And I'd been hearing about him playing on Euro sites before that and doing really well. So he was already great at that, and he started playing PLO, and people said, he's no good at PLO, he's going to lose all his money. And he lost a lot of money, then he got a lot better, and started beating people. He has a hard time getting action at heads-up PLO these days, and now it feels like the same thing might be happening again, where he's just going to jump right in and play the absolute highest stakes against the best players in triple draw and 08, and who knows what's next. And maybe he's giving it away right now, but maybe in a month or two, he'll actually be one of the best.
It's kind of a fake it till you make it situation with him, because he does seem to just get good.
Yeah, he is absolutely an unbelievable natural talent at poker.
Get aces? Ace king?
Now you see why I said I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Makes sense.
Not the best interview, Isildur.
Did it make the edit, Joe?
65,000.
I don't think I interviewed him, did I? If so, I blocked it out. I don't think we'll be hearing him on EPT Live anytime soon.
Troianovski's button raise
Not a super talkative individual.
has been called by Oleshemian in the small blind. Mike Watson folds the big blind. We're going heads up to the flop.
But just like anyone else, when you get him around his friends, sometimes you can't shut him up.
Yeah.
They'll put a microphone in front of him. Death.
Maybe try interviewing him in Swedish.
Yeah,
It might go a little more smoothly.
That should be fair, yeah.
We haven't seen either player's whole cards. We've got a Jack 4-3 rainbow flop. Shemian checks to the pre-flop aggressor. Troianovski checks behind. Ace of diamonds on the turn. Okay, we've got a 6 of spades for Troianovski.
We've got a card.
1 out of 4 ain't bad.
Ike doesn't need hold cards to know what's going on here.
I would expect a bet's coming from Shemian a lot of the time here. His range to cold call from the small blind has a whole lot of ace-x in it, so if he has it, he's going to bet it for value. If he doesn't, he's going to bet and represent it and hope to win the pot.
So Shemian leading for 290,000.
Just got the blues right.
I'm guessing this is a situation where basically if Troianovski has a pair, he calls, and if he doesn't, he folds.
He calls.
Maybe he could be calling as light as King-6 or getting really fancy with a straight draw, but I'd guess that other card is an ace-jack, 4 or 3.
8 of spades on the river. Shemian now checks.
I'd expect him to bet again for value with any ace probably that he bet the turn with, but maybe he has a jack here.
That's 125,000. Shemian immediately going for chips, but hasn't called yet.
It's not a very big bet.
I mean, if Shemian does have an ace, he's called already.
Right. Yeah.
Shemian folds.
I guess he just had something sort of queen 10-ish.
We're going to
Took a
find out.
stab and
6, 7 of spades for Troianovski. He bluffed the river.
very fancy way to play a gut shot.
And Shemian had 8, 10 of diamonds. He actually
Folds
rivered
the
a
river
pair.
Wow.
All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, we've already got one great poker mind in the booth in the shape of Ike Haxton. We're going to welcome in another. Lex Veldhouse from Team PokerStars Pro is taking a seat. Just want to quickly answer a question from Bart on Twitter. He asked about our live streams from Deauville. Remember, we're going to be live streaming every single day of the EPT main event in France, from day 1A through to the final table, from February the 3rd onwards. Bart just wants to know if that's going to be with hole cards. It's actually an EPT Live Lite. We don't have the TV set there. It's a non-televised event, so no hole card information. And remember that if you've got like several tables in the field, you can't just have hole card information displayed from one. You can't put the guys at the feature table at a disadvantage. So no is the short answer. There'll be no hole cards on those streams. They'll be completely live. Great to have you back, Lex.
Very great to be back.
Hello, Lex.
Hi. Has there been a lot of action?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we've been playing some big pots.
Deeb started this final table as chip leader. That honour now belongs to Vanessa Selps. Deeb currently second on the leaderboard, starts the hand with around 2.4 million and raises under the gun with Jack-8 suited. And Trojanovski seems to want to play hands now. He's been frisky with some speculative cards, shall we say. He will call with an ace. We haven't seen his kicker.
Kind of hope he only looked at the ace and then called. Doesn't he have like weird antics, Trojanovski, or am I mistaken?
I think you might be confusing him with Artem Litvinov. He's the Russian
Oh,
guy who
yeah,
likes to do
right.
the karate moves.
Yeah.
Artem's a hero.
He is so fun to have at a TV table.
This is a total of 161,000.
Shemian decides to squeeze. 3-bet to the button. Makes it 161,000 total. Gets Vanessa to fold.
I think the scariest thing about doing that in this hand is having Vanessa on the big blind still to act.
Everything about going for that here is scary to me. Like, I don't think Deeb's especially light to open or especially easy to bluff off a hand. Yeah, I would be shocked if Trojanovski folds here, regardless of what he has. That's a small 3-bet. I'm inclined to say I just don't like this play, but if I do, it's with the intention of taking a flop in position against Trojanovski and winning from there.
It's just too bad when you pick a hand like this, it just flops so horribly.
Yeah.
You can never go for 3 streets.
Yeah,
almost.
he's last in chips, payout considerations here. And I don't like this at all.
So Deeb, the original raiser, has folded. Trojanovski with the decision. The yellows, they're the 25,000 chips, remember. So it was Ace-Jack is the hand for Trojanovski.
Ace-Jack.
And he 4-bet enough to put Shemian all in, and Shemian quickly folded the King-7.
Yeah, that's a risk too, because Trojanovski might not, want to play a big pot against Deeb, just play some flops in position. And then, but those hands are all fine to get in for 30 big blinds.
Right, he can easily have a pretty strong hand there.
Let's have a big round of applause for Miss Vanessa Selps.
I don't even think Ace-Jack is like a particularly surprisingly strong hand for him to show up with.
The first few orbits.
Applause for Vanessa
as the first 4 hands.
as Robbie announces to the
Yeah, I
players
was gonna
that
open shove my first hand, but then I was like, oh.
Only Micah does that.
with 5th place or better, she is now guaranteed top spot on the women's all-time money list. She is now officially overtaking Kathy Liebert.
I guess now.
That flashed.
Yeah,
I don't know
like
what it was, but it definitely flashed.
I'm like, yeah.
I think if she cracks the top 3,
Also got
then
engaged
she'll be the
this year,
first
so
woman
kinda
to
evens out, yeah.
5 million. Am I correct?
That much is obvious. How else could I get this lucky? in
We
a
believe
poker
so.
Some you lose some.
Very impressive.
tournament? Mr. Deeb.
So 5-handed action continues. It's the final table of the 25k high roller at the PokerStars.net Caribbean Adventure. James Hartigan joined by Lex Veldhouse and Ike
You
Haxton.
should have shown me your hand.
Huh? Now you'll raise me next time?
Well, no, but I had 9-4 off, and it's probably raised.
Probably profitable.
We're still working our way through your questions and comments on Twitter using the hashtag PCALive and your emails to nuts@pokerstars.tv.
Have you played much with Mike Watson, Ike?
Yeah, medium amount. Bunch of high buy-in live tournaments, and I've talked to poker with him away from the table as well.
What would you say generally, without giving too much away about him, is his style? Like,
I'd say he's a relatively tight, solid player relative to other extremely good players. He's by absolutely no means any sort of scared nit. I think he plays extremely well. I think he's maybe tighter pre-flop than a lot of other people, but willing to go for it post. And
yeah, okay. Because that's that's a good thing. Because I wasn't sure, and I've played with him a bunch, and then still the fact that I'm not sure means he's doing something right. Because if a tight aggressive player can put you on the wrong, the wrong idea, then that's pretty good.
for sure, I think he's one of those guys who nobody thinks they're ever bluffing because he never gets caught.
So Troianovski flatted Vanessa's button race with Queen 9 suited, flopped a gut shot. Vanessa's 4 still best. Went check on the flop.
Check.
And with the board pairing on the turn, Troianovski checks a second time.
I wonder if he checks again because he gives Vanessa a big part of her range would be ace high.
Or a jack, for that matter.
Yeah, for jack for that matter.
I mean, he has some high card value himself here. I wouldn't be surprised if he's thinking that by betting he rarely folds out a better hand, and he could maybe even check call turn.
I would say we're going to see a value bet from Vanessa here.
Yeah, I would think so. And I don't think it would be crazy for Troianovski to pay this off. I mean, Vanessa is polar relative to this hand. I don't think she's ever bluffing with better. So this is as good to call with as ace high would be.
Yeah.
And Troianovski plays a lot of limit games, so he's definitely familiar with thinking about small pots in this way, where decent high card is a hand you have to take to showdown a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. And plus, she bets half pot, so he gets 3-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't fault him at all for paying this off.
Nope.
Troianovski pays it off. 4s are good, Vanessa. She extends her chip lead at the final table. Just before you got here, Lex, we were talking about Isildur's amazing upswing in the first few days of 2013. Actually, an update, several people tweeting to let us know that Victor actually dropped about $1 million last night. He was playing 300, 600 PLO against Galfon, and then he played 1K, 2K limit Omaha high-low against Cottonseed 1. So he had a bit of a downswing last night, but obviously still up on the year by some margin.
I mean, the downswing is going to come eventually with the games and the style he plays, so there's no reason for panic yet. But the only thing that concerns me is the fact that he's playing people like that in 1K, 2K, 08,
Queen, yeah.
and triple draw and stuff like that.
I
But
thought it was 10 high, maybe.
Yeah, I think that he's a really outstanding big bet player, but I got to assume he's overmatched in those limit games.
he'll probably catch up sooner than most people would. But I think there's a lot more studying. There's a lot more like just raw studying of the games you have to do in those games, because a bet is good or not.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about intuition, because someone will always get the same kind of odds on calling. So your ranges are more defined in those games.
Yeah, I agree. There's less room for creativity or doing anything really wildly exploitive where I'm just going to never bluff this spot. I'm going to always call this spot because I think my opponent's making a mistake.
Yeah.
You just got to know what hand's good enough to value bet and which are the right blockers to bluff with and things like that.
This is hand 38 of the final table. Under the gun raised from Sir Watts. He's got the aces.
I expect we see a cold call from deep here pretty much every time.
Yeah, I can imagine this would be a spot he wanted to 3-bet.
Does have the button.
Oh, he seems to be reaching for 3-bet chips. That's interesting. That's a big one too, isn't it? Oh, no, not especially. He like 2.5x, is it?
155,000 total.
That's interesting. I wonder if he chooses to 3-bet that hand because he's not sure he can profitably call it, or if he's like actually excited to 3-bet it for value and play a big pot here.
Shemian with the decision, has 3s in the big blind. Lee Jones from PokerStars on the rail. A PokerStars legend, some would say. And with Shemian folding, it's now back on Sawat with the aces.
That 3-bets to 155 of effective stacks of 1.66 or so. I think Watts has an interesting decision here between call and 4-bet. In a cash game, I think I might call, but at a final table, second to last in chips, I think there's reason to just play it aggressively and increase your chance of winning the hand right away. I wouldn't be surprised to see him 4-bet. He goes ahead and calls. I can't fault that either.
Oh, 1.6, I think.
I kind of like that because I think with the way people view his game, people are going to be really scared of his 4-bet in this type of spot.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
It's easier said than done, though. You know, like it's hard because on this final table you overprotect your hands in big tournaments like this. So I really respect him for.
Flops top set. Deep flops second pair.
Really bad flop for aces.
Yeah. Yeah, with aces in a spot like this, you don't want a flop top set because it's just so hard to get action after you do.
Yeah, it's really hard to get more than one street of action here.
I wonder what Deep's going to do. I assume check.
So Watts has checked to him. He was the pre-flop aggressor.
Going for chips. I wonder what the plan is here if he bets. Is he betting once and just hoping to get called by jacks and tens and queen jack and then show it down? Or is he setting up a multi-street bluff? If you're going to fire 3, he actually sort of has a good blocker here because he stops Watts from having ace queen. He can fire at 3 streets and hope to bluff him off ace jack and ace 10. It's pretty ambitious.
I think
but that almost seems like the most likely thing when he bets flop here.
It's kind of funny because you can see, because he bets flop, it also correlates really well to the fact that he decided to 3-bet instead of flat pre-flop. Like he's obviously a little less scared of Mike's range than we thought he would be.
Well, I mean, what it says to me is that he thinks Mike's range is fairly tight, but that he's going to go ahead and bluff right through that range.
Mm.
Maybe he's just betting it once and then checking it down.
Oh. Okay. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't like a raise there. I think you just call it down and try to trap.
I think against like Vanessa Selbst, it would be good to check raise there and then check the turn. Just sometimes, you know.
And that's all the aces.
That's a perfect card now. Well, I mean, it's the best card he could have gotten. Now we'll get more action from deep.
Maybe. I mean, it more or less kills any plan Deeb might have had of turning his hand into a bluff, but now he just likes his hand a lot more. Surely Deeb can't bet again here. I don't know what that would be trying to accomplish.
So Watts has checked to him a second time. Deep does indeed check behind. The river, the inconsequential deuce of diamonds.
Now it's gonna be the tough question for sizing for Mike. Like, what are you trying to sell with what kind of sizing? Like, what will get you the most kind of calls or be the most profitable?
Yeah, I think you want to just bet maybe half pot or so, represent that feasibly he could have called flop with all of the king jack, king 10, jack 10 stuff and be turning that into a bluff now, and value betting probably around ace 10 plus.
$651,000 in the middle. And the bet from Mike Watson is 400,000.
Yeah.
Ike, what do you think that Mike would do here with King Queen? Like, what kind of sizing? King Queen, Queen Jack. What kind of sizing do you think he would use?
I would expect him to just check those hands. I think it's overambitious to try to get value with Queen Jack. I mean, you see how miserable Deeb is with King Queen here. I think Queen Jack, you just get called by every better hand and no worse hands.
Yep. Whoa.
He calls. You can't beat quads.
It's the worst call I've ever made.
Deeb says it's the worst call he's ever made. There's a lot of competition there, Sean.
I do not like how Sean played that hand. I don't know. I mean, I'm just not sure what he was trying to accomplish. Maybe I could... I'd be interested to talk to him about the hand and see what he was going for there, because I can't put him on a game plan with that line.
It starts with pre-flop already, in my opinion.
Right, for sure.
A quick tweet from Joe Stapleton, who's currently resting his strained vocal cords. Says, can you ask Lex if he got
Something
my
good.
birthday wish on Twitter? Thanks.
Wasn't holding free.
Did you get his birthday wish on
I
Twitter?
didn't get his birthday wish. I'm kind of happy I didn't know.
You were about to be in
And those of you asking for the free roll password, it is T-Coop, in honor of the Turbo Championship of Online Poker, which is starting on the 17th of this month. T-Coop, T-C-O-O-P, will get you registered into that game, which starts at 7:15 Eastern Time. $1,500 in the prize pool, and it is free to enter with the password. Ob. Actions on Deeb. Ace-Jack. Raises to 65k. Gets folds from Troinovsky and Shemian. Mike Watson in the big blind.
Stacks have moved around a little after that last big pot. Watts is now second in chips with Deeb and Troinovsky closely tied for third and fourth with 1.6 and 1.9 respectively.
Watts defends, and Deeb flops top pair.
Pretty light defend, I think.
I think it's a good call. I think it's a pretty clearly good call. You're getting a really good price when you're facing a min-raise closing the action there.
I think it's pretty hard to play stuff like this against people like Deeb, out of position though.
Yeah, but getting such a good price, you know, you don't need to try to win every hand. You can do exactly what Watts is doing here, miss the flop and just check fold flop, and if he checks it back, just try and check fold again on the turn. Surprised Deeb didn't go for a flop bet. That seems a little overly fancy. I mean,
It's also a little imbalanced, I think.
yeah, I think he's probably betting most of his air on the flop, so I don't see why that wouldn't get bet as well. If you want to check back an ace just to protect your range in the turn check back spots, it should be a weak one rather than one like that you can happily fire 3 streets for value with.
So Deeb wins some back, up to 1.7 million. Just behind Troinovsky with 1.9 million. A reminder of the Twitter hashtag if you want to get in touch, PCALive. Alternatively, email nuts@pokerstars.tv. And a reminder of that free roll password once again. 7:15 Eastern is when it kicks off. So about 2.5 hours to go till this tournament starts. T-Coop is the password you need. T-C-O-O-P.
Left over.
3 minutes left on the clock. And the players will go on a short break. When we come back, the blinds will be up to 20,000, 40,000 with a 5,000 ante. Deeb under the gun.
Raise 65.
Raises to 65. It's his standard open. King Queen again.
Looks like he's playing a lot of hands, but he just has something every time so far. I mean, he opened as light as Jack-8 suited under the gun, but I would never expect him to fold that hand.
Troinovsky has called. Not 100% sure of his hole cards.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be playing along so nicely with the show your hole cards requirement. In fairness to him, he has shown them
I don't think it's
before
deliberate.
throwing them away eventually.
Yeah, it's not deliberate. He sometimes misses the camera.
Yeah.
And
Troyanovsky has been seeming to get to the flop pretty light in these spots. I don't know if Deeb will try to c-bet here or not. Yeah, if there's anything, you're going to just give up and check fold on this board. King Queen makes a lot of sense. You have no backdoors.
65.
bet of 65,000 from Troyanovsky.
If you have a card Jack or lower in your hand, you can make a running straight. Ace high, obviously more appealing to check call or c-bet than King Queen, and it's the exact hand you should just give up here, I think. So I like Deeb's check, and I think I would prefer not putting in any more money from here.
No, it's pretty hard to barrel this hand, and
Yeah.
you're just gonna have to check fold the turn so often, plus you're gonna get called on this flop so much.
Right. Yep.
Deeb will fold. So it looks like we'll be able to squeeze in one last hand before the break. Troyanovsky had 9-10 suited. I just want to say something very quickly about the hole card cameras. I mean, obviously, Troyanovsky did not try and deny us the information there. Obviously, the camera didn't quite catch it. But our feeling is that you shouldn't, like, try and badger the player while the hand is in play. So what will happen is, when the hand is over, Robbie will say, please show your hand to the camera just before you give your cards to the dealer, because it's unfair to sort of interrupt the flow of the game by getting people to constantly show their hands to the camera.
Especially because, you know, some people at this table may be very used to playing on a feature table with hole card cams and everything, and for others it's their first time and it can be distracting.
And of course it was Troyanovsky's first time at the Super High Roller final table, but he was only there for 3 hands. That wasn't a burn, by the way, it's just a, just a statement of fact. I feel sorry for the guy, he ran 10s into aces, what are you going to do? Action folded to the blinds, Vanessa in the small. And with ace king, she will raise.
I was gonna say this is the longest I've ever seen a clip without Vanessa being involved in action.
Deeb with ace 10.
A ridiculous setup right here.
This is small to big here. We're looking at Deeb having about 55 big blinds to start the hand. Yeah, I think calling is pretty clearly the thing to do.
By the way, guys, the general theme on Twitter right now is that everyone is very happy that we've got both Lex Veldhouse and Ike Haxon in the booth. People asking that you do every single live stream, Ike, so from now on you're banned from playing side events. We're going to stop you actually playing poker because you need to talk about it more.
Fair enough. Might save me some money. Obviously, this is a great flop for Deeb. I'm expecting him to get at least one bet out of Vanessa here, and
well, she does continue.
I don't think I like a raise.
It's so appealing sometimes, though, against Vanessa.
Yeah. If there's somebody I would raise this against, it's Vanessa. She is very willing to continue. Either bluff 3-bet or, you know, just bet call the flop with ace-king high. I mean, well, hell, if I had ace-king high here, there's a good chance I'm bet calling flop. But you have so many bad tens here that you want to protect. I think you want to just call this down. Bad tens, any other pair, ace-8, like, you can't be folding a lot on this board. By any 2 overs, you're floating the flop.
Just very quickly, while Deeb decides what to do here. Funny tweet from Jake Cody, who's obviously sitting at the airport in Nassau. He tweets, at Vanessa Russo, they have called your name 5 times. Don't miss the flight. There is a raise from Deeb.
It's not what I would do, but I don't hate it by any means. I tend to play these spots kind of passively, but there's a more aggressive approach that's definitely equally valid.
It's kind of crazy when you play a hand like this against Vanessa. the only thing you're thinking about is how can I get her to put all our chips in. You're not even thinking about maybe I'm beat. Like when I was going over it through my head, I was just thinking like, you know, how am I going to get all our chips?
Yeah,
in?
I mean, you can't be seriously worried about being beat here. You lose to 4 overpairs and the sets, and yeah, maybe she has 10-3 and 10-2, but I would assume she's probably not opening those into Deeb.
Yeah. There we go.
Is she cutting out a 3-bet or a call here?
3-bet.
3-bet. If I were going to continue with Ace-King here, I would probably just call it. I don't know exactly what this 3-bet is going for. I mean, Deeb's not just like raising top pair to find out where he's at and folding to a 3-bet. Either he's bluffing, and there aren't really very strong hands to bluff with on this board, and Ace-King often has them dominated. Like some of the stronger hands you could bluff with here are things like King-Jack that, you know, you turn a king, Ace-King against King-Jack, you...
Wow, he shoved.
Deeb has just moved all in.
Which is it?
Oh, she's not really going to call this off, is she?
I'm really surprised he shoved, actually. Like, I would thought he would give her some rope for the turn, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, if anything, you always want to keep bluffs in Vanessa's range, I think.
Yeah.
So it's around...
And it's such a dry board, if you're going to keep raising, it doesn't need to be huge either. I guess the 3-bet was to... the 3-bet was to, like, almost a third of effective stacks. He could click it back to half of effective stacks, but... meh.
Well, Deeb's got just shy of 1.6 million. 1.1 million for Vanessa to call here.
Just clicking buttons over here. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing either.
Just call. I would shut this down.
All in for 1,592,087.
This will be the last hand of the level, by the way, the last hand before the break. And I wonder if Sir Watts is getting any info from those guys on earlier hands.
I think a call here would be pretty paranoid.
Yeah.
It's tough though, like when you play so many hands yourself, you always think people you might want to take advantage of you, never respect your raises.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Vanessa's thinking, like, I'm so excited to bluff 3-bet this spot that he would be right to just rejam with 6-4 or Ace-5 or whatever. And so now she's worried she has too many bluffs and not enough value once she 3-bets, and is starting to think, oh, maybe I do need to just call it off. Seems pretty crazy to call this off, though. Especially when Deeb is second to last in chips, and...
Yeah, just ICM-wise, it wouldn't...
Or, yeah, second to last in chips.
Breaking news, people. Vanessa Russo is on the plane. She made her flight.
This would be kind of crazy.
That's a relief.
Vanessa Selps, on the other hand, has been thinking about what to do here for more than 2 minutes now.
Oh, I like that decision clock. That's new.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
I haven't seen that before.
We like to be innovative on our live streams.
Beware, Andrew Roble.
I was just thinking I'm going to look bad next time I'm on one of these. My decision clock's going to hit 45 seconds before I call him in raise from the big blind.
I hate you.
Not an uncommon opinion.
Miranda thinking, please, Vanessa, don't make a mistake. Don't blow up. She calls!
Wow.
She calls, and we'll see that she is way behind. She said she leveled herself into calling.
It's the only hand. Nice hand.
Thank you.
Deeb set for the double up and set to retake the chip lead at this final table.
I do not know what just
Look at
happened
it
here.
hitting
That
kings.
It's hard to
do
imagine
you?
that's how the flop plays
deserve
out
it
between
for that
any
call.
two other
I was
players.
gonna show you the ace if you folded 2, which would have just sent you off.
No, no. You should show me an ace, so I would have known you had 10.
Really? I would think you think ace 4 is fine.
Yeah, I thought you're more likely to have like Jack Queen or something.
Deeb just has to fade a king on the river.
Wow.
Oh god, it has to be 10 high. 10-3, 2 rainbow. Nice hand. I almost just folded to your.
And the river is a king!
Wow!
A sick river which sees Sean Deeb eliminated in 5th place. A 3-outer for Vanessa Selbst, who's now up to nearly 5.4 million in chips.
It's
As
about
Deeb
half the chips in play.
walks out the door with $290,000. She can't believe that just happened. He can't believe it happened.
Deeb is going to be having nightmares of that king hitting the river for at least a few weeks.
I clearly did that intending you would call super light.
No, I know you did that, but like having the ace, I don't know, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I almost just folded to your flop raise too.
Yeah.
Once I put it, I don't know.
3-bet the flop.
I just bet 3-bet, then called off
I
on the
made
flop.
like 3.5x flop raise and 3.5x chain. Both huge sizings.
I didn't have an ace in my hand. Anyway, no, sorry, man. That's ridiculous.
Go win the
I'm
tournament
running
now.
ridiculous.
I'm sorry too. I was like, oh.
I know.
Everyone feels sorry for Deeb.
I just.
Yeah, he's just like, okay, give me my money then.
You are now 4-handed.
I called off with ace king high. It was
10-3 deuce rainbow. We got
Shemian looks pretty happy about this situation.
I was just clicking buttons, and then I called.
It's really tough to fold top pair, top kicker.
Yeah, by the river. I couldn't fold by the river. All right. Sorry, man. That was.
Are you guys all blinding us? Dog just there alone and stealing blind?
I can't lose this tournament. I'm running too good.
So Sean Deeb started this final table as chip leader. He exits in 5th place. Vanessa Selbst now has more than 134 big blinds and 4-handed action. A sick beat to end the last level. And we have the victim of that beat with us in the booth. I'm James Hartigan, rejoined by Joe Stapleton, and Sean Deeb, our 5th place finisher, has very graciously agreed to come in and do some guest commentary. Sean, I have to say, you've taken it remarkably well.
I mean, I've been playing poker for years. Everything can happen. And I actually, the one thing I always joke about is that ace to a6 hand, everyone knows me from the World Series. I said my biggest regret was not going to do the live commentary that they were doing. So I've said every time I should be able to keep composure to be able to talk about what just happened, regardless of how I lost or how I won.
Now, to be fair, we did have to take away Sean's belt and shoelaces.
Can you pass me that?
Well, let's see how the final table has gone so far today. Michael Raskin was the first player out. Next to go was Tobias Reinkemeyer. He lost a flip, ace-king against eights. And then Bryn Kenny ran eights into jacks. And a short while ago, just before the break, after Ola Shemian had taken out those 3 players, Vanessa Selbst hit a 3-outer on the river after Sean played the hand perfectly and induced her into calling it all off with just ace-king high. But then she got there on the river.
Now, not only did Vanessa suck out on you there, but didn't she show up at your house on Christmas once
Yes,
trying to collect a debt?
No, see, we actually argued about that. She was actually paying off money that I owed, which is, it was really funny because I was getting interviewed earlier before the final table, and they mentioned, like, yeah, Vanessa says she went to your house on Christmas to pick up money. And I was like, no, actually, she was dropping off money because she played high-stakes poker. I had a piece of her, so I think she's one of the best poker players. And so I had a piece, and she lost. I had to post the money up front for reloads. So she actually, her girlfriend is from upstate New York as well, and she was there for Christmas. So she actually dropped by my house Christmas morning. We were having Christmas breakfast, and so she showed up. I handed me a few flags, and then met my family and left.
Looks like Liv has come looking for you, Sean.
Everybody shut up, Liv's here.
Really, man.
Probably a bit disappointed to see you not there anymore, but obviously happy to see Vanessa.
Yeah,
Oh,
Liv
no,
just
she's fist pumping for Vanessa.
She just borrowed my girlfriend's hoodie, so Liv's quite happy. She was a little cold.
By the way, first hand back from the break was a walk for Troianovski in the big blind, and he had kings.
Now, I did hear that when Troianovski came back from break, he was asking, where's Sean?
Yeah, me and Vlad have been very friendly for this whole trip. We've played a lot online. We've played a lot of Chinese. Super nice guy. Like, I just get along really well with the Russians, playing Chinese against them, and I was very lucky because I got him to show me his hand a bunch of times. I let him pick a card from mine. And obviously, for me, I think I gained more information from sharing cards. When in the spots I wanted to see how light he was pretty gracious with me. So, but overall, super nice guy. I really just enjoy playing with him in any game.
And to remind you that Vladimir Troyanovsky, this is his second high roller final table in the space of 7 days. He made the final of the super high roller, although was out within the 3 hands. He came in as a relatively short stack and went out with 10s against aces.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling he was going to come in a little bit calmer than what he did in that one. But there was obviously fireworks from hand 1 at our table. A lot of big hands matching up. The short stacks ended up losing their all-ins, and we got short really quickly.
Vanessa Selps with queens under the gun. She raises. Folded around to Sawat in the big blind. And he folds as well. And Vanessa shows the queens.
Always have it.
Let's try not to
She always
look
has
too,
it pre-flop,
too
sometimes
frustrated.
not on the flop.
Thought about limping. Limp?
Remember, if you tweet, use the hashtag PCALive to appear on our timeline.
Couldn't fold that one.
Ace King, the one before.
Bada Bing on Twitter says, big respect to Sean Deeb getting in the booth after such a beat on a big final table like this. He's a real pro.
+1.
Yeah, there's been a lot of big hands here.
He barely had any tears in his eyes at all when he
No,
got
I
back
mean,
here.
I fully was aware, like,
My card distribution has been insane.
all right, as soon as the thing came out, like, as soon as the flop came and I saw her hand, I was like, if she gets there, she gets there. I played my hand exactly like I wanted to, and that's the thing about poker. Once you make your decisions, you shouldn't care about the results. No matter if she had aces, if she had ace high, if she had a set, whatever, I thought I was trying to induce her, and I did that.
So as we come back from the break, the blinds are 20,000 and 40,000 with a 5,000
Oh, wow,
ante.
look at this.
Troyanovsky's raised under the gun. We haven't seen his whole cards. Shemi in the short stack has 3-bet. Bizarrely doesn't 3-bet shove with the 5s.
Well, that's because he sees Vlad as a little fishy. He might think he might call and check fold flop. He might look even stronger with 5s than just jamming. So he's just committing himself. Now, Watt's sizing here should be very interesting. I expect him to go about 425. He might even go a little smaller.
We raised to 315,000.
Wow, he went really
A lot
small.
smaller.
Yeah, he just, I guess, is trying to get Vlad out there, and if anyone plays over the top, he might fold.
Troyanovsky folds the ace-9 in the face of that 4-bet.
He just flatted.
That's interesting, huh?
I mean, I guess he's folding if it becomes like ace, king, queen.
Feeling good about this flop bluff. Think I'm getting it through.
Yeah, Watts is like, I got him. So comfortable.
Has Shemian really left himself 100,000 behind?
Yeah, I actually don't mind this play. There's a few boards you can fold. But I guess I don't think he's folding this one. So.
100,000 behind is,
Yeah.
you know, like 2.5 big blinds.
Oh, I thought I missed another stack.
Mike's very excited. He sees 2 5s. He's like, I got him. He can't even check fold if a 5 comes. That's brutal.
I feel really good about this bluff.
So it all goes in on the flop.
Didn't work, but I
Well, no, it
least I
didn't all
saved
go in, as they're
myself
saying. He left himself 10K behind. Watts bet 100K, misread his
That's a bad
stack.
card for me.
Underbacks? 15.
Now it goes all in.
Yeah.
On the turn.
They found a way 10.5 blinds deep to play 3 streets.
This is a very bizarre hand, but the net result is that Ola Shemian's about to go out in 4th.
You got the only 2 low cards.
He's got 2 outs, I guess you've got to focus on the positive. No river suck out for Ola Shemian, so he exits in 4th place. Remember, he took out the first 3 players at the final table and got the chip lead, but then lost a huge chunk of his stack to Vanessa Selbst.
Yeah, that was a fair. I think Oli's one of the best players I played with in a long time. He's impressed me so much online, but I don't know what was going through his head on that bluff versus Vanessa. It was just a really, really bad hand overall.
So nearly $355,000 for our 4th place finisher as we go 3-handed at this final table. And let's just recap the stacks. Troyanovsky's the low man with 1.9 million. Mike Watson has 2.9 million. Vanessa Selbst is the chip leader with 5.38 million.
And now's Mike Watson's chance to finish better than he finished in the last big tournament we saw him in. Finished third in the super high roller from Barcelona.
Yeah, Watts, I think, is one of the best players. I really want to see some of the hands because he came out firing. He barreled every hand he played. I assume he had it most of the hands.
He was getting big hands.
Yeah, because Watts is not usually one of those guys. I made a bad call versus him when I had King-Queen. He bet so big on the river, but I had the best possible hand I had in my range.
You were way behind.
I know. I saw those two cards. That's probably the hand I regret the most of this final table. That hand will beat me up way more than the Vanessa hand or any other hand I play, just because I knew when I was calling that big of a river bet versus him with his image and that board went off, I was just always beat, and I'm just really mad at myself for that 400K blow up.
Well, we're going to take a break from listening to Sean Deeb and listen to Sean Deeb from earlier on.
Yeah, today was super fast-paced. Oli started off with a couple big hands, and people were short stacked, jammed on him, or called all in correctly with also big hands, and so we got five-handed quickly. I didn't really get much going today. Kind of maintained my stack. Had the one big pot versus Vanessa where she cold 4-bet, and I had queens and like 100 blinds. It's a really awkward spot concerning the payouts. So I 5-bet. She tank folded. I believe a very good hand, very strong hand, and then kind of played a few pots here and there. And then the last pot was a very high-level hand. Most people are like wondering what's going through Vanessa's head, but I played my hand the way I did, expecting her to call with ace high, with worse tens, with just any pocket pair. So when she called, I wasn't surprised. I understand why she called, and then she just got there. So that's what happens.
Do you know what she tank folded?
She told me ace queen. Yeah.
Ace queen suited. Yeah.
Obviously, we recorded that interview with Sean earlier on, and the director played that out 40 minutes ago, and we're only seeing it now. They didn't know you were going to be coming in. It's the time-space continuum thing. It's all a bit weird.
It's okay. You guys have put on a great show. I try to watch every broadcast because seeing whole cards and seeing so many top players, you learn so much information, what people are doing, what sizing they're picking, and there's just everyone loves to watch poker. It's a great game.
You know, I was surprised to hear from Daniel when we arrived here, Daniel Negreanu, that he like re-watched all the live streams from the last PCA.
He said, I've been watching you, and we were like, oh, what'd you think of the shows? And he's not watching the TV show replays. He's watching the entire live broadcast.
Yeah, where are they all on PokerStars TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, great website. So many cool things, so many little segments you have no idea they ever did. So much information out there.
Now, when Vanessa folded that ace-queen suited, I thought, like, oh, maybe we're going to see, like, a different Vanessa today, that she's going to, find that other gear where she can put the brakes on a little bit, but not so much in your hand.
I mean, the thing is, once she 3-bets that flop, she's trying to get value out of her hand. I mean, it's not like she's trying to. She actually told me later she thought when she 3-bet the flop, I might call and fold the turn with a bad 10, which I was just kind of surprised that was her logic, but that was what she was trying to do. And I just jammed for the reason because I thought that she would think I'd never have it, and she didn't. But I think Vanessa has many gears. I mean, I've seen her play super tight. I've seen her make big folds. The ace-queen hand versus me and the queens wasn't the biggest hold ever, but in that spot, I'm opening on the gun. I'm capable of being super light there. Like, she even really thought that I was bluffing her based on her table talk after and, like, her, like, waiting anxiously for the hand update. Because she really is capable of anything, and I think anyone versus her can do that too.
Blind on blind action here. Watts raised small to big. Vanessa defended with 7-8.
I'm actually not a fan of this raise from Watson. I think Vanessa Helps is going to call him way too wide. I'd much rather be limping 100% of hands I want to continue in the small blind. With Vladimir stack, I just don't think you should be raising inflating pots out of position. Vanessa's going to 3-bet a lot. She's going to flat a lot. She's going to float. It's just going to get yourself in really bad spots later on in a much bigger pot that's necessary.
Whenever I see Vanessa Selps with chips, I think of that scene from Billy Madison when he finally gets the dodgeball and he just goes, now you're all in big, big trouble.
Yeah, I was really, when Oli bluffed off versus Vanessa, I was like, we're going to battle. I mean, thankfully I had position on her, so I was like, I can control the size of the pot a lot of streets if I want. But there's just no way me and her aren't going to clash. We're both huge table captains. We're both involved in lots of hands, raising, 3-betting.
Yeah, I knew there was no chance you were staying out of each other's way today.
Yeah, basically, whoever won the battle between us was usually going to win the tournament. And I was just trying to have that as late as possible. Very interesting turn card.
Yeah, Vanessa called Mike's c-bet of 125,000 and now has a pair of 7s. So Watts with a pair of 4s, both players with a straight draw.
Check.
So Watts now checks.
Yeah, I like a bet here from Vanessa. She usually has the best hand, but most of Watts' hands has equity. Either they're 2 overs, either straight draw, a worse pair, maybe even a worse 7 if he has 7-6.
Vanessa checks behind. And the river is a king.
Same go for this street.
I mean, you got to put in a value bet if you're Vanessa. There's just very few better hands that he has. I don't understand why.
Well, she checks behind.
Yeah, she kind of made a little smirk like she knew she probably should have bet somewhere that hand. Yep.
Missed the bet.
Few of your tweets. Mike says Liv Barry is looking good at the PCA. And Patrick points out there's still plenty of space available in the PokerStars free roll, the PCALive free roll, which kicks off at 7:15 Eastern, so just under 2 hours from now. The password you need to register for that free roll is TCOOP, TCOOP.
Tomek doesn't know a lot about value, I would guess. Since it's a free roll, you don't want it to fill up.
But hey, maybe he wants tougher competition.
That's
the more
right.
people in, the more skill it takes to win.
For love of the game.
Yeah, not everyone's grinding those free rolls for the equity. They just want to play poker.
It's about the title. No trophy for the free roll, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be winning that trophy either.
Aw. Sad clown.
But someone I'm friendly with will win. And that's the nice thing about, like, that's what I love about tournament poker is everyone at this final table, Oli, I've now become friends with. I mean, he won TLB, I've won TLB twice, so we have a lot in common. He actually joked when I got knocked out. He says, I guess I win the Battle of TLB Champion. And Vladimir's, I become very friendly with the trip. Watts, I've known for years. Vanessa, I've known for years. So it's just a lot of fun. That's the coolest thing about tournament poker. Of like cash games, I feel like people actually make true enemies. I have no enemies in tournament poker, really. No matter what they do versus me, I've probably done something similar to someone else.
Well, when you have a huge win, you'll probably get some enemies.
I mean, I don't think anyone will be too jealous of my big wins. They were kind of like, I've donated enough money to a lot of prize pools where it's only fair I win 1 or 2.
So Watson's button raise was flattered by Troianovsky. We know that.
I really like Vladimir's stare. It's very goofy and weird. Like, he does a few different ones. But I think a lot of weaker players, not in these super high rollers and high roll fields, are going to be caught off guard. But I think him in like a regular PCA main, you're going to see him, if he starts playing some EPTs, have some deep runs. Because his style is very, very tricky. He's very aggressive in a lot of spots. Check raises and just check folds. Like, yeah, he likes to fire around.
He mixes it up a lot more than, he's not a standard player for sure.
Exactly.
Not sure what his other hole card was. We know he folded a 6 there. I got a question on email for you, Sean. This is from Rob. He says, Sean, can you talk a bit about that 25K qualifier for the 1 drop? What was your strategy at the final table, knowing that only the top two spots paid out?
Yeah, in a tournament like that, the bubble is huge. It actually paid out 3 spots, by the way. 3rd place was 400K. 2nd place was $1 million. And so my whole goal was to get 1st or 2nd, obviously, biggest prize pool. But I wasn't sure at the start of the final table if I really wanted to play the 1-drop tournament or if I was willing to just take the cash. And it's very weird math, Satellites, especially one that big of a bubble against such tough opponents. But I actually made a few mistakes at the final table that I was bothered by. But luckily, I ended up winning the all-ins when I made equity and mistakes of calling someone.
Well, it's now time on PCALive for the latest installment of Stapes' Guide to the Bahamas.
Look at how nice
I came in a little late. I don't think we're going to make it for this one, guys, but it was going to be hilarious. It was going to be all about Colonel Sanders living here, his vacation home. That's his canon. And then he had a secret society. I'm telling you guys, it was going to be awesome. That was going to be their catchphrase, forward, onward, and upward, together. Unfortunately, I got called away and did not make it back in time.
Always multitasking here on the webcast.